Another thing that we may need to calculate from time to time is the marginal propensity to save. This little short tutorial is a review of the material that we covered in class. The formula for calculating the marginal propensity to save, or MPS, is S2 minus S1 divided by Y2 minus Y1. The key thing to remember is that the individual's marginal propensity to save is constant over the whole range of income levels. The first step in the process of calculating the marginal propensity to save is to write down the formula for the marginal propensity to save. That is, the marginal propensity to save, or MPS, is equal to S2 minus S1 divided by Y2 minus Y1. The S's represent two different levels of savings, and the Y's represent two levels of income. The second step is to select the level of income for Y2 and label it as Y2. Next, you will substitute the value selected for Y2 into the formula. 3. You will select the level of income for Y1 and label it as Y1. Next, you will substitute in the value you have selected for Y1 into the formula. 4. You will label the level of saving associated with Y2 as S2. Next, substitute in the value you selected for S2. Next, label the level of savings associated with Y1 as S1, and substitute the value that you selected for S2 into the formula. Next, you will subtract S1 from S2, and next then you will subtract Y1 from Y2. Next, you will divide the difference between S1 and S2 by the difference in Y2 and Y1, and then we'll write down an interpretation of the calculation as we discussed in class. The second step that we need to do is to actually designate a level of income to be Y2. In this case, $700 was selected as the Y2 income. Our next step will be to substitute that $700 into the formula. Our next step is to choose a second level of income, which is going to be our Y1, and in this case that level is $300, and we're going to substitute the $300 into the formula. Since we need to have levels of savings, we're going to need to choose a level of saving that is consistent with our two levels of income. Since $700 was selected as Y2, our S2, our second savings amount, is going to be $180. We're going to take the $180 and substitute it in for S1 into the formula. Next, we need to choose a S1 level of savings, and we're going to do that by looking and seeing which level of income we selected for Y1, and then we will select the amount of savings based upon our selection of Y1. In this case, since we selected Y1 to be $300, the level of saving that is associated with that is $60. Next, we will substitute the $60 into the formula. Our next step is to subtract 60 from 180, which gives us 120. Our next step is to subtract 300 from 700, giving us $400. The next step is to divide 120 by 400, and this will give us 0.30. Now we need to take a minute and interpret what that 0.30 means. What this means is that the person whose income and saving is represented in the table saves $0.3 or 30 cents of each additional dollar of income he or she earns.